the Learnable Solution. One of the things that I have done professionally over the last year is develop a employer mindset. And that's, I'm gonna leave it like that.
Okay, an employer mindset. Because sometimes we can have a business, but we're not acting like a CEO. We're working in the business, not on the business. So I get it. Next, Tony, and then Carl.
Yes, good morning. I'm Ellsworth Williams. I go by Tony. I'm the CEO and president for Veterans Council and Veterans, and I'm also a proud member of the NAACP down here in St. Pete as the Armed Services Veteran Affairs Committee Chair. So that question there is interesting because what I'm trying to do professionally is become more intentional when it comes to revenue making for my nonprofit. For the last 11 years, I've always been a give. But now I'm trying to be more intentional when it comes to that. So I'm learning how to create sponsorship letters, learn how to ask. So that's my big learning this year is to become more intentional when it comes to revenue making as my nonprofit.
Yeah, I get it. Being intentional, being deliberate, and there's money out there. Sometimes we feel like we shouldn't ask for it, but it's out there. They're doing it. We need to learn how to do it too. Carl, and then Myra.
Yeah, Carl Sharperson, first time on the call. Dale Dix invited me. I'm a leadership innovation strategist. I help people go from being mediocre to maximizing their potential. Graduated from the Naval Academy and then was a pilot in the Marine Corps for 5.5 years. For the last 20 some years, I've been doing coaching, speaking, and things like that. What I've done to grow recently is I took an interim position at Clemson University as the military veteran engagement person, and it caused me to do a lot of listening and to exercise what I coach people on.
Right, got to practice what we preach, Carl. And thanks for being on the call. Appreciate you showing up. Next, we're going to have Myra and then Jay. Is Myra still there? I think she dropped off. Next, we're going to have Jay and then Jesse.
Yes, good morning all. Jay Kerr, Air Force veteran, Air Force Academy graduate. In addition to becoming involved with Uplift Empowerment, I say this year professionally to grow, I completed my project management professional. I've been using really old dated certificates for years, and so it was good to get current and to prove to myself I could get it done. So finally got that done.
Fantastic. PMP. That's what's up. A lot of times certifications will make you more money and give you more satisfaction than degrees. So good job, Jay. Next, Jesse and then Donnell.
Hey, good morning, everyone. At the moment, I'm driving. So what I'm doing professionally to improve is I've started to do more networking, such as at this event and others, as well as doing a little bit more looking for some certifications that get qualified in. I did one last year in intercultural communication styles, and I'm looking possibly taking the Myers-Briggs type. That fits into my executive coaching that I'm doing. Hey, everyone, have a great day.
Hey, thanks, Jesse. Drive safe.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Next, Donnell and then Rodney.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Donnell Johns. I'm the founder of Veterans Growing America, where we spotlight veteran and military spouse entrepreneurs through events and technology. What have I done in the past? What was the question again?
What have you done in the past year to grow professionally?
Oh, I've taken all kind of different trainings. When people have trainings or different courses that are out there, and that's my thing this year is really just educating myself as much as possible to, learn what's out there, learn what's new, and just try to innovate this year.
Yeah, that's the key word, innovate. You can't
Yes,
do what
sir.
we've done in the past 5 years and think that it's going to work going forward. In fact, there's a quote that says, what got you here won't get you there. So, so that's something all of us can consider. Thanks, Donnell. Next, Rodney and then Jason.
Good morning, everyone. Rod Miner, veteran advocate, And to the question, listening more, definitely. Another thing is attempting to, as Doc said, working on the business as opposed to in the business. And also just being consistent with being here each Saturday morning. It has really added to the value of my own personal growth, listening to you brothers and sisters. And also, Carl, good to see you, my friend.
Wow. Thanks, Rodney. Appreciate that. Jason and then Aura.
Good morning, Saints. Jason Smith from the United States Air Force Academy, and on my own professional coaching and business development business. And someone told me once, if you want to have something from a Black man, put it in a book. So I've been reading to improve myself through the past year, and I've also improved my professional association through networking and some strategic mastermind groups that I'm now part of to have better connections. So thank you very much.
Right. Thanks, Jason. Next, Aura, and then Mom.
Well, top of the morning, everyone. Happy February and Women Heart Awareness to everyone, and especially the ladies on board. I'm Aura Crutchfield. I'm the program manager of Galilee Veteran Support. I'm also a NAVVET member of the SO as well. What have I done? I think top of the list is self-care. I think it starts with self, trying to eat better, trying to exercise more, quiet time, tuning things out, meditation. I think it starts there as far as that will make you focus. And then the other things is to listen more, network, and delegate. Basically, I'm a person who, I won't say micromanagement because I believe greatly in teamwork. I believe in building strong teams. And so through networking and listening to what one worked, that helps you to delegate the work out better and what needs to get done. So staying focused with that, taking some extra classes, trying to learn Spanish better. In my time, French was the thing when I was coming up. So I want to get in because that is sort of the second language, and it's going to be better to help everyone and to be able to interact, as well as our hand signing to language. So that's where I am.
Fantastic. Thanks, Aura. Next, we're going to have Mom and then Calvino.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Linda Armour Bruce. I'm the proud mom of Dr. X. I have been a teacher for 23 years and 23 as a high school principal, as I'm presently serving. And it was all in the same district and in my hometown. So it's more than a job to me. For the past year, I would say it would be collaborating. No longer can I go into my office and make all of the decisions. I found that when I bring my staff on board in the decision making, I get more commitment. Thank you.
Yeah, buy-in is very important. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we're going to have Calvino and then Billy.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Calvin Springfield. The Calvino got hung up in my computer when I was stationed in Italy. And that's what they called me, and I haven't been able to get it off. But anyway, yeah, good morning. I'm sort of in the recovery mode. Several years ago, I went through a major surgery. So I'm kind of focused on getting my strength back and that sort of thing, and working out and eating right, as the lady said earlier. And all of that's going to help me to become a better, entrepreneur. I did a lot of work with real estate, that sort of thing previously. And so I'm getting back into that as soon as I can. But I kind of in the receive mode. I understand. I was invited by Just a Citizen, and he was telling me how great you guys were. And I really wanted to listen in. So appreciate you having me.
Hey, thanks for being here, Calvin. Appreciate you. Hopefully you'll come back next time. I know it's early, but hey,
yeah,
that's okay. Get you a cup of coffee. We'll be good to go.
Okay,
next, we're going to have Billy and then Jake. Yeah, Billy, then, I'm sorry, Myra. Billy Gregory. Oh, you're on mute, Billy. Hey, Billy, you're on mute.
Not doing this.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Billy Gregory, and since I know Calvin has another name of being Calvin, I'm a rubber name with tell the rest of my friends about that. I'm retired, and I in the last year or so, like I said, I've basically been focusing on my health as well. Not been able to do a whole lot of things in the house, but I'm working on trying to do better. I just recently enrolled into a seniors fitness program where I can really actually touch my toes again without a whole lot of pain. So I'm looking forward to that. And also at the same time, trying to keep people informed of things I know. And I think some of the challenge we have at times, so many times people will find out something and they just won't share. And this whole thing kind of reminds me of the Underground Railroad. We use just a portion of what the Underground Railroad did to be successful, we would be better off. So I do my best to try to keep the word, get the word out, and make sure it's factual information.
Thanks, Billy. Appreciate that. Next, we're going to have Randy and then Gloria.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name's Randy, also known as Handy Randy, part of that dynamic Aura Crutchfield Galley support team. I'm a Marine, I'm a combat veteran, Marine, also cancer survivor, so many other things, and big time advocate for veterans. And in the last year, just more networking with veterans and veteran organizations out there. And I've also gotten heavily involved in health and wellness. Has become, a top priority for me and my family because of COVID and so many other things. So I love networking, health and wellness as far as empowering veterans and doing that has been at the top of my list. So I continue to educate myself on all fronts of veterans resources, veterans information, awareness, and health and wellness. So those two things have been pretty much at the top of my priority list. And this network has been a blessing the last couple of weeks. Just an empowerment, just involvement, and listening to you all has been therapeutic as well, as far as helping the veteran out. It's in need of just support and just information sharing. I love sharing information. I see several of my colleagues on here, some of my Marine veterans, Semper Fi. I see Miss Fan on there, who's a really big colleague of mine, and Aura, of course. But like I said, it's a pleasure to be part of this gathering every Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, and just grateful to be here. And thank you very much.
Thanks, Randy. Appreciate that. Gloria.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be with you here from Northwest Washington, D.C. I am a United States Navy veteran, neuropsychiatric nurse. I guess my nursing and my nursing background is the base, the foundation for everything that I do as part of not only the NAACP for Montgomery County, but for NAB vets, NAM vets, GW Gardner and Associates Consulting. Primarily this past week, I've been concentrating on prioritizing and coming out from major grants writing for Montgomery County Veterans Initiative, and making sure that all of that we do are programs and ongoing with outcomes that will definitely benefit not only Montgomery County, but everything that we do as a network here for veterans, and trying to stay healthy. When you're busy splitting yourself without prioritizing, you begin to weaken. And so this past week has been one of strengthening and growing so that I can continue to do what I'd love to do, which is to serve mankind, and veterans being a major part of mankind and humanity. Trying to decide some of the boards that I'm going to get off of. A lot of nonprofit boards that I serve on, I chair many committees. And so I've got to prioritize and decide which are important so that I can stay healthy and do best for myself, my family, and for you all. So thank you very much. Glad to be here as always.
Thanks, Gloria. Appreciate that. Next, we're going to have Myra and then Rob.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. I was invited by Michael Black. I've known him for 30 years. I'm retired from the United States Air Force. I've been retired 10 years. I presently care for my mother, and my professional growth, probably just taking a couple of classes now. And I'm presently reading 3 books. So that's the extent of my professional development so far. I don't presently work. Again, my mother is my job right now.
That's excellent. Thanks, Myra. Thanks for being here. Next, we're going to have Rob and then Dell.
Good morning, all. Again, Dr. X, our leader. I guess professional growth wise, I would say that this past year, or more recently, this past couple of months, since I've been a member of this group, invited by, of course, my frat brother and fellow Citadel alumnus, Brother Dale Dix, I've been able to network with, I guess, several of you in terms of professional development, in terms of profession, new job, as I stated last week from Dr. X. I've been working with Valerie Austin. I worked with her to, with her career development, I guess, platform, talking about my profession in terms of epidemiologists. Worked with Mrs. Van in terms of trying to get on board for VA claims or so, and look to kind of expand that, I guess, network with others who are on. So it's been great so far, and looking forward. As well as Dr. X, I don't know if you know, but I actually adopted your mom, Mrs. Armour. You didn't know that in terms of guidance when I was teaching in the middle school. So it's been great. That's why I get up early. So, and try to make sure. Thanks. Good to see everyone.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Appreciate that. Next, Dell and then GI.
Good morning, everyone. Dr. X, if I could get you to tell me what the question was again. I got on a little late. I apologize.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's what's something you've done in the past year to grow professionally?
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to answer that question. Well, my name is Dale Dix, and I am a financial educator. I spend a lot of my time showing people how to become smarter about their money. And what I've done, I've decided, I think I mentioned a couple months ago, I started reading the book, The 5 a.m. Club, and I decided to become part of that club. And so I've religiously been getting up at 5 a.m. Since January the 1st. And I bought a Peloton bike a year ago and just started riding it on January 1st of this year. But I've ridden it just about every day this year. And I believe that I'm on my way to, I feel different already. I'm doing about 4 sets of 30 push-ups a day now. I started out with 10 on January the 1st. My arms are trembling, right? So anyway, all of those things are starting to make me feel better. And I expect to make continual progress throughout the year. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Dale. And that's something that I was able to do this morning too, jump on that Peloton bike. I had Pastor Jamal O'Brien on TV and just worked it out for 30 minutes. Got to get at least 30 minutes most days. So that's one way to do it. Next, we're going to have GI if she's available, and then Nat. Okay. Now we're going to go to Nat.
Good morning, Dr. X. My name is Nat Alston, and I am president of a human capital consulting group called the Horizons Group. Back to your question, I basically am a former C-suite executive. So far as what I've done professionally, traditionally, is I've got a group that's called Vestige, and these are former C-suite executives throughout the entire United States. And we meet once a month to discuss things on a 30,000 feet level. So having that connection, as also, as I put in the chat, I am also the chairman and the founder of the National Association of African Americans in Human Resources. And we are a 7,000 member group that exposes me to a variety of people in the private sector world. And having been that C-suite executive myself and have a group that are C-suite executives, we meet, as I said earlier, once a month. So that's my learning experience from other executives out there in the private sector corporate world.
Fantastic. And Nat, you wanted to share something else?
Just wanted to thank everybody for their service. And if you don't mind me sharing the screen real quick, I'm here in Columbia, Maryland, and I wanted to share, if I may, Dr. X.
Yep, I made you the co-host. You should be able to share. There you
If
go.
you all can see this, and they were, just wanted to bring it to your attention. 2 days ago, Mrs. Vivian Millie Bailey celebrated her 104th year birthday. And just scroll down a little quick. If anybody doesn't know her, she is here in Columbia. She was one of the few people that, Black women that served in World War II. And I want to really give her her props. She is still alive and well here in Columbia, Maryland, 104 years old. And as you see, she was part of the Women's Army Corps. And I had the pleasure of meeting her. And she is still, as I said, alive and well. So I know I probably will say to you all serving in our nation's armed services, giving her her props and wishing her a continuous good health and happy birthday to Mrs. Millie Bailey, 104 years old, 2 days ago.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Dr. X.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Appreciate that. Let me see if I can, if you can unshare, and then we'll do a quick
I
deep
got
dive.
it. You got it.
Fantastic. So at this time, I'm going to do a quick deep dive into how emotional intelligence plays a role in this concept of strategic energetic transition. So as you can see here, E in Empower is for emotional intelligence. It's the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions. I don't know about you all, but sometimes I let my emotions get away from me. And it's something that can be enhanced. It's something that can be changed. We can't go around thinking that, okay, this is just who I am. This is me. People just need to get used to me and the way that I am, when in fact, this is something that we can become better at as individuals. So when it comes to emotions, first of all, we have to identify that it is one of the 6 energy blocks that mess up the way that we show up. If there's a problem in our lives, it's typically one of the first 2, mental and emotional. If we don't think it, then we don't feel it. The reason why we're happy or sad or angry is because of something we think about. So those first 2 are critical in forming our lives, forming our experiences. And then we look at step 2. How do we analyze our energetic self-perception based on our emotions? And the one that I want to point out, the one level is level 4, Tender Lover. I don't know if some of you all are too old or maybe even too young to remember this song by Babyface called Tender Lover. And the whole idea here is to be compassionate, not just for other people. In fact, I think it was Gloria who mentioned sometimes you can be drained at the end of the day. There's a concept out there called compassion fatigue. You can be so compassionate for others and you can just give, and at the end of the day, you're just exhausted. You're exhausted. So at level 4, you become a tender lover in which your main concern, you're concerned of others. You're concerned about yourself and how they're showing up and how you're showing up. And then there's some compassion associated with that. And your action or your result is that of service. So that's level 4. Then in step 3, we make a command decision on, okay, what do we need to do to enhance our emotions? And I picked 2. There's others here that you can look at, but I would say inspirational appeal and friendliness. And how can you be friendly to yourself? Not just to others, but to yourself. And then inspirational appeal. I read something the other day that said, hey, how about you dance at least once a day? Doesn't have to be in front of anyone, doesn't have to be too long of a dance, but just put on some music, dance, and see how you feel after that dance, or sing, or something else to inspire yourself once a day. And again, be friendly to yourself and others, but you have to be friendly to yourself in order to overcome the stress and anxiety associated with life transitions. And last but not least, going back to the initial question, what's something you've done in the past year to grow professionally? Well, many of us said that listening is something that we want to do more of. And in order to listen and be emphatic, we have to look at our emotions and be friendly so that we come off more professional once we're dealing with people, not just at home, but at work, school, and in business. So without further ado, he is the Chief Operating Officer at Concise Network Solutions. He directly supports the Chief Executive Officer in developing, executing, and managing CNS's master business plan with an emphasis on operations, strategies for new business, and revenue performance. He is a senior cyber information technology leader with over 35 years of experience in communications, cyber operations, project program management, organizational development, and leadership disciplines. Prior to joining the private sector, he spent over 26 years in the United States Air Force, holding various communications and leadership positions at many levels. He culminated his distinguished military career as a colonel, commander, White House Communications Agency, leading a 1,200-person team of selectively manned military, DoD civilian, and contract personnel to provide no-fail telecommunication services for the president, vice president, named successors, first lady, senior White House staff, national security staff, United States Secret Service, and the White House Military Office. Comrades, please join me in welcoming Air Force Colonel Retired Michael Black.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Danielle.
Before he starts talking, I just want to let everybody know today is his birthday as well. I don't know if he wants everybody to know that, but I just want to make sure everybody knows.
Yeah, well, I knew that, but hey, thanks for putting that out there. Happy birthday, Mike.
All right, thank you, Donnell. And Dr. X, thank you for that wonderful introduction, and thank you for providing this this forum every week to have these meaningful discussions. The networking folks have already commented about how beneficial it's been for them, and I too have certainly benefited from from everything today. Before I get started with the slides, I will answer the question myself as well, because I did provide the question to Dr. X, and so it's what's something you've done in the last year to grow professionally. And some of you might say, well, really, what does this have to do with emotional intelligence or the emotional quotient? But it shows that a person has a learning orientation and looks at themselves and can be self-reflective. And so, many of you mentioned, reading books or taking classes or doing something to help your business and those kind of things. What I've done in the past year to grow professionally is I started taking this forest therapy class on Sunday mornings, where I go out with somebody who's certified in teaching forest therapy and spend an hour out with nature, and really, just taking it all in, and it has caused me to be a lot more aware of my surroundings, looking hard to see things. Sometimes we use all five of our senses out there, and one of the exercises is what's in motion. And if you look and see you might not see anything in motion unless you look really hard and, you know, see that leaf moving, see the water flowing or something like that. But all of that applies in life as well. And so that's something that I've done. And it's something that I look forward to every Sunday. One of my mentees is the instructor for it. And I get a lot out of it. A small group of folks that participate in it. I typically go somewhere in walking distance of my home. So I'm here in Fairfax Station, but there are a couple of times I've been to other places, and I've even done this when I've been on travel. So I've done it in Colorado, and I've gone to some parks in the area. But I highly encourage folks to take a look at something like that. It tells you a little bit more about yourself, and really just causes you to reflect on your just self-reflection. And again, that is part of emotional intelligence, is being self-reflective. Okay, Dr. X, if you would put the slides up. Truly appreciate you driving today. So emotional intelligence. This slide here is the cover of my book that I didn't even know was published. I wrote a thesis when I was in Army Command and General Staff College on coalition command control, communications, computer intelligence systems, interoperability, a necessity or wishful thinking. I'm actually working on a book now, but a couple years ago, my kids came across something on the net, or maybe my wife, that showed that I had a book out there, and they went out and purchased it. And so it's just, a published thesis, if you will. But anyway, the cover really struck me about that. And so what I did is I flipped it, reversed it. One of the things you can do with technology today, and just put them together, and really started thinking about, emotional intelligence and what it meant to me. And so you can see the gears, everything churning and thinking in the brain. You can also see, if you look very closely within the silhouette, there is another silhouette looking inside. And so that's self-reflecting to me. And then I put it together so that I could be looking at somebody else, and that's looking at others' emotions and them looking at my emotions, and both of us having our brains churning and thinking of what's going on. So that's emotional intelligence, to me. Next slide. Okay, so personally, I have two slides just kind of really on my personal command philosophy to show you how I've rolled emotional intelligence in the things that I do. I think I've used these two slides before when I talked about nutrition and fitness with you guys, but really just to quickly go over it again, the 5 F's are family, fitness, flying, fairness, and fun. Family, your immediate family. Fitness, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on the next slide, but that's not only physical fitness, but spiritual and mental fitness. And I think that applies directly to emotional intelligence. Flying is the primary mission of the Air Force, or the Air and Space Force now. And so you just kind of equate that to whatever your primary role is, and focusing on that. As a leader, you must be fair to your folks. It's a cliche, but it does affect good order and discipline if you're not fair. And I think that applies in the private sector as well. But equally important is you have to be perceived as being fair. And to know people's perceptions, you've got to get out there and engage them, talk. You've got to be aware. You got to be aware of your blind spots to get that kind of feedback. So again, that relates to the emotional intelligence. And then finally, fun. It's not all work and no play. Again, that also relates to emotional intelligence. And so the things that I do for fun are lots of sports related. Do listen to music, and I do dance in private, Dr. Bruce, unless Atomic Dog comes on, and that's a whole nother story. All right, next slide. Fitness, physical fitness, spiritual and mental. Physical fitness goes without saying. got to take care of the body and do things. And so I have this Apple Watch that I use religiously, and I try to make sure I close my rings every day with 1,170 calories that I need to burn, doing some kind of physical activity, standing up, every hour, so trying not to be sedentary. And then finally just doing the cardio exercise for at least 30 minutes a day. But then the spiritual and mental fitness, again, I'm not here to preach to you. I'm not going to tell you what you need to do for your own spiritual and mental fitness, or even if you choose to do that. But for me, it's like nurturing, just like nurturing the muscles in the body. You have to nurture your spiritual and mental fitness. And I do the forest therapy. I also do what's called Christ Moves Now yoga. That starts every morning. We've been doing it since the pandemic. Every morning about 6:50, we start on that. We start with a devotional of really describing one of the chapters in Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. And I usually lead the devotional about half of that time. And so consequently, I've read the book, over 10 times over the past, through the pandemic. But nurturing that spiritual and mental fitness, that's how it works for me. Next slide. Okay, so just a basic definition, very similar to what Dr. X provided in his opening. Emotional intelligence is the ability of an individual to deal successfully with other people, to manage one's self, motivate other people, understand one's own feelings, and appropriately respond to everyday environment. Emotional intelligence refers to the ability to perceive, control, and evaluate emotions. Now, I think this slide builds, so just click it one time if you don't mind. Thank you, Dr. X. And so really simply put, emotional intelligence is the ability to deal successfully with other people. You can really redline all that stuff if you're just looking for a simple definition of emotional intelligence. Next slide. Okay, so I did a little leadership exercise leading up to this. I reached out to about eight or nine folks, and I asked them to give me, the characteristics of a great leader. Who they thought was a great leader, and what were the characteristics of the great leader. And so, in the silhouette, you see what was provided to me by all the folks, and I thank everybody that responded to me in that, and I really appreciate your input on that, and really have saved some of that stuff or all of it for my own use. Really thankful for the input. But if you look at this on the other opposite side of the silhouette, you have intelligence quotient, emotional quotient, and skills. And so those are what one might say bring, are the characteristics that a great leader would have. But under my own, separation and moving of the characteristics that folks provided, I said that over 90% of the characteristics that you provided me fell into the emotional intelligence or emotional quotient category. Over 90% had something to do with feeling, empathy, listening. We heard a lot of that in the question, focusing, change agent, encouraging others, inspiration, transparency, commitment. I mean, you name it. Most of these characteristics that you thought were, great leaders fell into the emotional quotient category. And so when we do samples of folks, it's just like polls. You can kind of get a sense of, how a general group might feel. And so I'm leaping out and saying that, generally speaking, people feel that the characteristics of a great leader fall into the emotional quotient category or emotional intelligence. Next slide. Okay, I don't know if this builds, it might have been blacked out there, but really down here at the bottom, right of the slide. The next 4 slides basically say here's where leaders have examples of leaders that have exhibited high emotional intelligence. So this first one is about President Obama. He is somebody that I believe exhibits high emotional intelligence in all the things he does. And so I had the opportunity to be the commander of the White House Communications Agency during his first election and first term as president. So shortly after he took office in 2009, I took command of the White House Communications Agency. I was the deputy prior, and I worked a lot with President Bush 43 as well. But I was in the inner circle. I traveled with him, went everywhere with him. I was there when he was, trying to stop smoking. And so, I saw him, work through that. I mean, I was in the bubble with everything. Had a seat on the second helicopter, had a seat on Air Force One, went everywhere with the president. And so I got to observe his emotional intelligence firsthand. And these are just some pictures, really just to highlight him. But I want to just talk about his emotional intelligence. I mean, if you saw him, the way he dealt with his staff and interacted with Valerie Jarrett, David Axelrod, Dennis McDonough, who is the Secretary of VA now, Vice President Biden, Susan Rice, all of these folks, and then heads of state from you name it, country. You could see that this president had tremendous emotional intelligence. I would watch him, make decisions. I handed him a phone when we were in Brazil with key staff on their secure teleconference where they were discussing, to drop bombs on Libya. Now, we were on a trip in Brazil at the presidential palace in Brazil and had to develop a secure telephone conference so that he could basically say, you're cleared hot to drop bombs on Libya. Now we're meeting with another leader that has really not anything to do with Libya and things that were going on at that time. Cool, calm, and collective, handed him the phone, and basically, he multitasked, and he was, told the chairman, actually it was the vice chairman, the commander of AFRICOM, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, White House Chief of Staff, all on the phone, all in different places. Sec Def was on a plane coming back from Russia. Secretary of State, I think, was in New York. The vice chairman was in the Pentagon. The commander of AFRICOM was in Stuttgart, Germany. And just cool, calm, and collective was able to do that. The picture of there with the folks in uniform, that was in Afghanistan. Really not supposed to be caught in pictures, but I was right there where he's engaging a command sergeant major and a colonel there about what was going on in Afghanistan at the time. And then the bottom picture is just at the Chinese wall. That's me with my hands clasped together back there. Again, not supposed to be in the picture, but just observing him in those actions. And then over in the top, in the middle, it's just my family. Short story about that is that the 2 older kids, my son in the middle, and then to his left, my daughter, they were, kind of joking about who was going to get to stand next to the president as we walked in there for our departure photo. And my youngest daughter was just quiet, baby girl. And President Obama said, well, we can fix this right here. I'm going to stand next to the youngest. And, emotional intelligence there. And then on the other picture is just a trip in California. He's actually shaking the hand of my aunt, one of my dad's older sisters, and just, took the time to engage her and her husband, who's standing to her left. Next slide. This is just, I believe I have a lot of emotional or high emotional intelligence, and most of those pictures are me and my first sergeant at the second time that I commanded at the 1st Communication Squadron at Langley Air Force Base. And, you talk about a dynamic leadership team. Senior Master Sergeant Hillard retired as somebody that I still talk to regularly today, but we led that organization, and both of us had, high emotional intelligence. I can tell you, the picture on the top right as you're looking at the slide, that's a young gentleman, Sam, who we adopted to be a honorary member of the organization. And at that retirement ceremony for Senior Master Sergeant Hillard, we presented Sam an honorary promotion to staff sergeant. He had contracted some kind of illness while he was in basic training that basically paralyzed him. But we went out to visit the VA in Langley and Hampton, and while I was in command, and we ended up adopting Sam, and I still talk to Sam and his mother pretty regularly. And then that's also my superintendent, Mick Johnson, in the picture in the civilian clothes, who passed away a few years ago, but he was an integral part of the team. Another example of emotional intelligence there at Langley was when we had a young troop who had an alcohol problem. It was an E6, had gone to detox at the hospital in Norfolk. Well, one day we had gotten word that, after he had come back, that his wife had notified the squadron chain of command that he was missing. And he, wasn't at home. And I had gotten the word separately from the first sergeant, and both of us went out looking all through the city of Hampton and the surrounding areas to see if we could find this guy. We were concerned about his health and welfare, knew about his challenges with alcohol, and basically after both of us, out doing that, we called to alert each other about what was going on. And I'm like, Shirt, where are you at? And he's like, Colonel, where are you at? And we both were already out looking for this individual. Next slide. Tom Brady. I use a lot of sports analogies for emotional intelligence, and what I'll simply say about this is these are pictures of Tom Brady and Antonio Brown. When they brought Antonio Brown to Tampa, obviously he had a past with the NFL and a number of teams, but Tom Brady let Antonio Brown stay at his place when he first came in, and then Antonio Brown actually quit the team. Had some issues this season, and instead of Tom Brady saying, hey, this guy is a detriment to the team, the first thing that he publicly said was that this guy probably needs some help, and and I love him, and we should help him. That's emotional intelligence. Next slide. One of my favorite coaches in the NBA and leaders of professional teams. He's also a graduate of the Air Force Academy, like Dr. Bruce, like Jason, and like Jay, earlier graduate. But he's a gentleman that I believe has a high emotional intelligence. And I have pictures of him with LaMarcus Aldridge and Patty Mills up there. LaMarcus Aldridge basically came in and said, hey, I want a trade from the team. And he's a great player, all-star at that time. And the first thing that Coach Pop said was, what have I done wrong? He did a self-analysis of what have I done wrong, why this individual wants to leave the team. And then I show Patty Mills and him in their Brooklyn uniforms, who is a contender for they're contender for a crown this year. And what Pop said about that was, it's a win-win situation. Brooklyn is, in contention for a title. I'm not mad at these guys. We have a lot of young folks on the team. This is a chance for us to rebuild and give opportunities for young folks. So he could have been bitter about that, but he always, takes the high road. And he also has spoken out about, the culture of the U.S. and he is a person. These are my words. He's a person that is woke. Okay, and I admire him. Next slide. Just a few quotes to emphasize emotional intelligence. Ava DuVernay, if your dream only includes you, it's too small. This is one from Dr. Coleman. He was the president's physician. He said, taking care of people who take care of the president is taking care of the president. So he was talking about, the whole White House community and the White House medical office that was responsible for taking care of me and my troops, as well as the rest of the folks from the White House military office. And I just thought that was powerful. We ended up building a clinic in our spaces at over at Anacostia Bowling, and that was my single greatest accomplishment in my almost 5 years at the White House Communications Agency, was bringing healthcare to the people. And you can read the other quotes by Daniel Goleman, an authority on emotional intelligence. Of course, Maya Angelou, I think everybody on here knows who she is. And I love this. I learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And then Warren Bennis is just another leader in leadership, and I've used him in my used his quotes in some of my presentations as well. Next slide. So what's next? I mean, when you have all this emotional intelligence, you can either have a fixed mindset and do nothing, stay with status quo. You see the locks there, you're resistant to change. Or you can have a growth mindset where you try a new strategy, do self-analysis, is this really my best work? And then, take some time and effort to make it work, and it'll grow. Hence the plants versus the lock on the other side. Next slide. Just a quick summary. I didn't go over this in great detail, but again, Daniel Goleman breaks down emotional intelligence into 5 categories: empathy, social skills, self-awareness, self-regulation, and motivation. And you can take a deeper dive in all that. You can Google Daniel Goleman. You can Google the 5 areas of it if you want to know more about it. But this is what emotional intelligence is to me. And I think that's the last slide. I think you're on mute, Dr. Bruce.
All right, fantastic job. Hey, thanks for carving out time on your birthday to give this presentation. It's so needed in this day and age. We have about 5 minutes. Anyone have any questions, comments, remarks?
I just want to say that, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So that, that's we just had a great presentation, and thank you for imparting those words of wisdom and sharing it with us this morning.
Yep, absolutely. Tony.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. One thing I'm interested in with Mike and with President Obama is an emotional intelligence. Is it learned or is it natural? And when is it too late? Like, can somebody who's almost 60 get a book or go to a class and be all of a sudden have an excellent IQ when it comes to emotional intelligence?
I'll give a shot at that, and this is a personal opinion, on it. I do think you can increase your emotional intelligence, but I think you have I think it's something that you're born with, and you're a product of your environment, and that kind of thing. And I don't want to get political on things, so I'll say this and just let you read into it. There are presidents that have had high emotional intelligence that are of our age or greater, and there are presidents that, in my opinion, that have not had it, that are of our age and greater. And so I think it's you either have it or you don't.
Rob.
Outstanding presentation, Mike. Can you, I guess, relate, or you can, if you don't mind sharing, I guess, a personal, incident whereby your emotional intelligence came into handy, either personal or military as a commander, whatever.
Sure. One of the other examples I had, and was the hardest thing I had to do as a commander, was to make a death notification. Okay, so to make a next of kin death notification. Had a troop that was deployed to the Horn of Africa as a radio operator, and there was a midair helicopter collision over there. And first call I got back was duty status whereabouts unknown, because they hadn't found the body yet. And so you have to go let the family know that. And so his spouse was a military member. They had 2 young kids. Me and my first sergeant went over there, to make that notification. It's scripted. I'm here on behalf of the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, and I regret to inform you that the duty status whereabouts of Luis Melendez Sanchez are unknown at this time. And go knock on the door in my service dress and talk to her. And then a day or 2 later, they found the body, and so I have to go back and then let her know that he has passed away. And I'm sitting there on their couch with her on my right side and the 2 young boys sitting next to me that were like 5 and 7 at the time, and having that discussion. She says to me during that, after I, have this discussion, she said, now Colonel Black is going to tell you, she's talking to her son. Now Colonel Black is going to tell you, what happened or the status of your dad. So no practice, 5 and 7-year-old right there to explain to them that their father, had passed away and wasn't coming back. That took a lot, in my mind, a lot of emotional intelligence to try to relate to a 5 and 7-year-old and to be able to explain to them what had happened to their father, and to somehow let them know that he wasn't coming back. And there's no training at all that I got in the Air Force to do that. We don't do exercises on that. We don't do scripts. We don't do plays. We don't do anything on that. And that was something where I think emotional intelligence came into play. I had it. I was able to do it. And I'm not bragging, but I felt like I hit a home run when I explained it to this. And I still have a relationship with her and her kids to this day as a result of that. And they're in college now.
Thank you. Thank you for that. The time is now 09:01. If you have to drop off, that's understandable. Some of us have back-to-back meetings, but there are a couple of more questions that are out there. We're going to go with Annette and then Nat.
I just wanted to ask the question about the young man that you was talking about, and whatever happened. I was just left hanging. I wanted to know what happened to him.
My troop that passed away. Yeah, so he's a radio operator. These were Marine helicopters, but the billet to support the radio operations was filled by Air Force folks. And so he was detailed to a Marine unit, and they were out doing actually a training exercise, but they were over there in the Horn of Africa, fighting terrorism and that kind of thing. The helicopters collided with each other over the water. He was still strapped into the helicopter, and once they found the body, he was still strapped in. He wasn't able to get out of the helicopter and basically drowned. And that same thing happened with the other Air Force operator, who was a female, and she was based out of Fairchild Air Force Base in Washington State. And so the way that works, the notification works is it's the commander that goes to go notify the next of kin on that. Now, the other thing that was, additional emotional intelligence, on that same day, I had a formation. This was a Saturday morning. I had a formation at ODARK 30, as we call it, like 0500, because my unit had recently recorded a DUI. And on the base, we had a number of DUIs on that base. And basically, this was right before the Super Bowl. The wing commander said, you know, if we have another DUI, the next unit is going to be made an example out of. And we had already had one prior to that. So I'm thinking, you know, the odds, I just knew we weren't going to be the unit that would have another, you know, DUI. But the point I'm making is I was already working on some emotional things that day. We finished up that formation, basically talked to folks about the importance of, you know, of safety and all of that. I didn't even have a chance to get out of my service dress when I got the call to go make that notification, make a notification. The positive side of that story is that from that day, from that formation, that was at the very, very beginning of my command. We had a goal of, you know, having, you know, 100 days DUI free, and we kept increasing that goal. And so we were over 500 days of DUI free by the time I changed command. So we had gone over a year and a half. So folks really stepped up to it. We were an example for the entire base and all that. That took a lot of emotional intelligence in my mind too, not just me, but my entire unit.
Wow. Wow. And Nat, and then we'll close out.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Michael for sharing that information on emotional intelligence and IQ. For me, again, thank you all for your service. My time and all has been in corporate America, where and back to the question, is emotional intelligence learned or increased? I say basically a little bit of both. In terms of that, I could always deal with, I control myself. Definitely, I thought my EQ was off the charts, because my game was I never let them outthink me. And when you're in corporate America, as I spent my time, my first 25, 30 years in there, you're dealing with racism. And corporate racism, overt and covert, is very, very different from the military. I can tell you that right now. In military, you have it, but corporate America, there's no rules and no code of ethics or anything of that nature. And so what has occurred over the time, I navigated using both the EQ as well as the IQ, because I was in situations where, one example, the person that I was going to replace, he ended up being my boss. And that took a definitely test on your EQ and IQ. And now, after I've gone into my consulting business, I basically have helped young Black folks navigate that corporate structure, because our young people, folks, I'll tell you right out there, that EQ is a little bit low on the totem pole for them out there. They react very, very quickly. And then the next thing you know, they're suffering the consequences. So most of all of us in here that are mature, that had to navigate it in the military side, there's a little bit difference when you're transitioning to the civilian side, but we've got to look at our young folks that are out there that need that EQ as well as the IQ, because you see it now. And you see Brian Flores and his suit against the NFL. Brian is in his 40s. That's testing his EQ as well as his IQ and how he navigates this suit against the NFL and the plantation mentality of the NFL owners. So I just say that to say what you've learned here and what Michael has basically reiterated to you, please pass that on to our younger people, because they need it more than ever. You gentlemen and ladies have done it and been successful in the military. Please transition that to our young people who may not have that military background, but are trying their best to navigate that corporate world and really be successful up that ladder. So that's my plea to you folks. That's what we're doing on the private sector side. Dr. X, always a pleasure. I'm enjoying every time I come on this. Thank you so much. And everyone have a blessed, safe, and happy weekend.
Hey, what a note to finish on that. Thank you so much for that. And thanks again, Mike Black. Appreciate your presentation. It was great. And I hope everyone make it a great weekend. Take care. God bless. Out here.